Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I've talked about recently all this fake analyzing machines that are out there. This is permeating the garbage industry of alternative everything and just meeting the expectations of the alternative fraud that goes on, which generally starts in the direct frauds that we get from all of society. So, both sides of the aisle are rotten, bad, and corrupt. I've recently ran into this yet again with the Spooky 2 garbage that's out there, a low-cost item for only $2,600 that also has a biofeedback, which is going to tell you exactly what's going on in your body. Yeah, I think I heard that from Elizabeth Holmes with her drop of blood that could say everything and her misrepresentation that got her 15 years in prison. Certainly the same thing should be happening to the Spooky 2 people and all these other people that are selling these pseudo-magnetic appliances that you put your hand on them and it gives you a reading and tells you what's going on. This is complete garbage. It feeds your idiot reality that I want him nowy. I want it here. I want sugar. I want salt. I want fat. And you get this feedback information, and I'm always surprised how many people buy into this garbage nonsense, these electronic boxes of crap that sell for tens of thousands of dollars that do absolutely nothing. And what's sad is these people seem to be doing pretty good. They're making lots of money. They're getting rich off of fools that are really just blowing their money and living in a fantasy world. After all, you know something they don't. You didn't need a blood test. You got yourself a little device that told you that. You're smart. You're better than the public. This is what people buy into. And particularly alternative people who, of course, have gotten no answers from the mainstream whatever. But buying into frauds, buying into things that don't work is not solving the problem. We need to find what works. We need to find good technologies. And if we buy into something and say, yeah, this works, well, we're going to stay with that kind of crap technology and we're never going to improve things. Now, this crap technology has made one of its higher steps lately. And I was surprised to see this as I stumbled into them on the internet. And that is your stupid watches. Oh, are they smart watches? Smart to take your money. But these are the watches out there that tell you different bio readings. How many steps did you make? Oh, that. And again, all of these things are not correct. Here's your beats per minute, your heartbeats per minute, your heart rate. And we go on to these things. Here's your blood pressure. How nice. All on your wrist, just like it's out of the Jetsons. And it kind of is. It really is a cartoon. And we go into the different things that also you. And here's the biggest con, of course, glucose. Now, these types of tools work on lasers. And right off the bat, they're not using the correct lasers to get any kind of really good results from it. They're using green lasers. Now, green lasers cannot pick up the information that you need. But let's go ahead and check the old blood pressure thing. Now, again, sometimes these things are kind of close to the real numbers, but they are not accurate consistently enough to really use them. These are goofy little toys that are very much ballpark. And if you're a person who's monitoring a particular level, such as glucose or blood pressure, that is important to you, and I'm assuming if you're going to get a monitor like this, it means you're having a problem and that you need something that really works. And ballpark ain't close enough. There's only two things that count that are close: horseshoes and hand grenades. Get close and you got the job done. So, mister, let's look at all that stuff. So again, it's a nice little watch. I got a little better one. You can get these kind of watches, and it's all the same guts here. It's all the same laser that's behind there. And I will show you that, but you've got to leave the watch on to do a little bit of test here. You can't take it on and off. It has to adjust to your bioenergies. But the bottom line is that close doesn't count. As a matter of fact, it could be dangerous to anybody who's trying to track something of a serious nature. So we have to keep that in mind. I'm going to be monitoring these a while, but you can get these for as little as about $25. They're all the same. The guts are the same. This is a little better. It's a little bigger. The wristband's a little nice. That's not leather, but it's a nice wristband. It's made pretty well. The whole thing put together is pretty good. Comes in a nice box, a nice little instructions. And all that goes with it. You have to charge this up as usual. It has the different types of regular features. And of course, the usual thing that you have here, time, day and date. Ooh, that's tech. God, you get the time and the date and the day. Ooh, I'm just so impressed. But that's, of course, what you get. We're going to talk about all these things as well. So I've got a really nice blood pressure monitor here. Now, this monitor I've had for a year or two. It's the more updated ones, which is made by Wellview. It's one unit, so you don't have something you have to lay on here and then a cuff separately. The cuff and the unit is built together, and it works the same way that these type of things tend to work, but not by a laser, but it's sensing your electrical energies that are going up through it. Now, this again, because of the nature of it, many times you're going to get goofy readings, but I would say that's probably 5 or 10% of the time, and you just redo it. It's as simple as that, because it's not going to pick up your electro energies coming off your arm that well every single time. There are many reasons for that. But this is a very nice unit. You don't have to have two things that are bulky. I have tested this at my doctor's office and compared the results to their manual things, the high-techy things the doctors use. Yeah, let me show you how the doctors do it. They listen to the arm, and then they pump it up with a little ball. So let's get this going. And of course, you just put it around your arm as you normally would. And generally, wrist units are not as accurate as you use it right here in your upper arm. Let's see if we can get in there. This charges up through a USB. It's a nice little unit. Costs a little more than the other ones, but as I said, it's very convenient. You don't have to get batteries or anything else. So let's get this and find out what my blood pressure and pulse is. So we'll start it. And you should be able to hear that. It's the cuff is filling up. You'll see how the numbers start to move here. Okay, so here's the reading. Let's undo it. So it's 129/81. My pulse is 75. Let's try the magic watch. So we're going to get the magic watch out and we're going to go to that. Now let's give it its first chance. Here's basically on here it says 75. Let's see if this picks up it correctly or not. So right now the pulse here, beats per minute, which is your pulse. This unit, as I said, is very good. It's 75. And this is something that is pretty easy to pick up. And let's see if this watch works that way. So we seem to be in the correct range. This is something pretty easy for any kind of a sensing system to pick up. They've had pulse monitors for years and years, and this certainly tends to get you again in the ballpark. And let's see what it gives you. So we got to give it a minute or two here as it adjusts so we can get kind of a final reading. So I guess we can say here 75, 74. Look at that. We even went off. But again, what is it, 75 on here? So it looks like that may have come up pretty good. And as you said, that's an easy thing to generally check. Let's see if we do it again here. Okay, now it's picking it up. It's 75, 77, 78, 79. And this is how you check these things. You should get the same readings each time when you check it, especially if you check it right after it. So there's nothing that would change my pulse here. So it's wavering. Now it's all the way up to 80. Ooh, what's happening? Ooh, you get hit by a space monkey? Now, obviously, my pulse isn't jumping up by 10, 15, 5 beats per second here. So the fact is that we've got a reading here that we get back to. And what was that? What was that again here? See if I can get the past readings. 75, okay? So this is not too bad. And of course, your pulse isn't that critical. And it does change frequently. But it really, it did get very close there. Now let's try the blood pressure here. Now I have to be quiet and be very still. And let's see if we can see that. Is that seen on there? Good. It's hard with these cameras. Okay. Let's start. Keep still as you can. Okay, so here's my blood pressure reading per this. And let's compare it to what it was on here, which is 129 over 81. Okay, this is 122 over 76. Now, that's not too bad, but as I've tested this throughout the few days I've owned it and tested it, this varies pretty dramatically as well. Again, it's ballpark. And you're still off by quite a bit here. So it's seven numbers off in the basic dystolic. And it is, what is this? 4 or 5 numbers off in the dystolic. So needless to say, it is not correct. And it's always off. Now, are ballparks good for you? Well, again, blood pressure really does vary all the time. But if you're a person who has critical areas of testing that you need to know more exact, then these certainly is not going to work for you. So let's try it again here with the blood pressure. And let me relax and just let it go, dude. And you can see here the numbers, the percentage that's taking the reading, and it tells you. Keep as still as you can. $123 over 80. And again, we keep getting different. Let me get that reading back again here. 129 over 81. And this is 123 over 80. So again, it's not too bad for blood pressure. Now, where there's a real problem and where there's something that is interesting to see that they're working on it, and I'm not going to go through that right now, but one of the major areas is blood glucose. Now, blood glucose, taking it using strips and puncturing your finger and everything else, well, this is a costly, annoying process if you're checking your blood sugar. And in this day and age, everybody should, and there's a huge percent of the population that has blood sugar problems. And the strips are expensive. You have to prick your finger, you have to use a little strip, you put it in a machine, and so forth. So if this really worked, it would be mind-boggling in terms of the effects it would have. It'd save people literally around the world. It's a billion-dollar industry, blood testing glucose. But let's try it here and find out what the number is. And again, it's the same process. You want to stay still and you watch the little counter there. Okay, it's showing 6.19. So this can be translated on a chart into what that means in terms of more digital numbers, meaning most of the time, which means generally somewhere from 90 on up in terms of the regular blood sugar, 90 kind of being very normal. And if people eat foods or eat a lot of sugar and everything else, this can go up to as much as 200. So, I mean, that's part of the process. But let's try it again here. 6.19. So this is 6.03. So again, we're getting a slight variation, but not all that much. But that is not the correct blood sugar anyway. I've tried this, and I will do a separate blood sugar analysis with this watch in another video. But in general, again, we're getting very ballpark figures, and sometimes these ballparks are pretty good. Now, it just depends whether... Now, you would have to test this information, but in general, I have found that the information that they give you... let's try blood pressure again. (124/72). I can tell you right now that is wrong in terms of, and I'm going to take my blood pressure yet again. It was 129/81. So this is saying 124/72. Let's check that. Now, again, is ballpark good enough for you? Well, if you have radical ups and downs, maybe it's a good thing. And the whole idea is you have a little watch on. You don't have to carry any kind of blood pressure unit if it is reliable. But I found that it's not very reliable at all. And while I'm getting some kind of close results here, let's try it again, Mr. Goo. Okay, this says 130/77. What was that again? 124/72. So when you do it like this, you can see how the discrepancies get larger and larger. Now, obviously, if you have dangerous blood pressure, this will give you a ballpark. But I'm not sure how good that is and to do with it. So we're talking about 130 over 77. So it's off by 6, and it's off by, oops. Well, I hit it again. Let's see what we get. Let's give it another test. Ooh, this is fun. It's exciting. $125 over 71. This is 130 over 77. So you can see, again, it's off by 5, and the other one is off by 6. Now, I mean, that's not horrible, but it really depends on how close you're watching things. Now, let's say you have a blood pressure problem and you're very high or very low. Now, if 5 or 6 points could be critical. So you have to judge for yourself whether that's a useful tool or not. Hey, look, you got the time on the day on here. Ooh, look at the pretty man picture. I mean, I could look at that all day. And you've got all the other things that it does, whatever it is, whether, how many steps you make, I don't know what this would be, but if you have a pulse problem, maybe this could be helpful. Let's find out what the pulse is and see if that was right on here as well. Let me see what the pulse was on here. The pulse was 73 on my last, and I haven't moved. I haven't done anything. So you're talking 71 compared to 73. Here's 72. So there's the magic number. Now it's up. Now it's down. It's like a roller coaster. So the whole idea is this is pretty close, the actual beats, which is easy for a device like this to pick up. So it's not bad. I guess you could kind of go by this, even though I don't know why the pulse would be fluctuating so many numbers all the time. That doesn't make much sense, but let it bring it up again. So it brings up 70, jumps all the way to 78. It's supposed to be 73. So again, this is exact right now. It's staying at 73, and that's what the machine basically said. So again, that's an easy thing to pick up. So you can see how these things are kind of helpful. And again, it depends how critical it is. If you're worried about a 5 or 10 points or so, and that's critical for whatever measurements you're making, you can see how that could be a problem. But that's not bad for that. As I said, we're going to go through blood sugars in a different video, but we'll go through that. But when it comes to other measurements, let's get back to the blood pressure again. Let's try it yet again. And you got to relax and stay still. And see, this is what I tend to find all the time. Now, when you do this repetitively, it seems to create more and more problems. Now, you got to remember, this is now showing very low, and that's why I wanted to do it. And supposedly there's the settings. I don't know if there's a camera in here, whatever it is, not sure. Now it's 118 over 84. Now you can see how this is a radical difference. It's really 130 over 77. Now we're getting into changes that are potentially dangerous. This is quite different than that. So we're talking about what is 12 numbers difference between the actual setting. So 130, 118. 77, 184. So that's fairly close, I guess, if you think that's close. And again, if you're a borderline person and it reads low or too high and you either take less medication or more, well, this could be a problem. So it is not all that close. This is fairly off, and this is what I was getting at. A common problem is that it was off like this most of the time. And 12 numbers off is quite a bit. There's a big difference between 130 and 118. So I'm not sure there's that much of a difference between 77 and 84, but I guess that's ballpark again, but it's ballpark. And if you keep doing this over and over again, you keep getting one different number after another. And that means that there's no consistency to it. You can't trust it. And that's this typical tech problem that we run into. Now let's look at this watch. As I said, you can get really cheap ones for like 20 bucks or so. And of course, the watch bands are different. This is a little nicer one. The screen's a little bigger. The band's a little nicer, even though it is just plastic, but it's a nice band, the whole idea of it. Now, and this is what it looks like underneath. This is where the sensing actual is here. And it's got this green laser. I hope people can see that. This is for charging. It has a magnetic charge thing that you put on there. And here's the sensing area, and here's the green laser that picks everything up. As I said, green lasers are much better than red, but the best kind of lasers you can use for picking up data is blue, purple. This is why we have blue rays and such stuff as that. And they use that to pick up energies from CDs and DVDs, but apparently your body don't rate a blue laser. So these are the kind of things, and this goes against your skin. You have to leave it on for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes before taking a reading. Well, that's fair. You got to let the energy kind of permeate into the system. And then, of course, you leave it on there, and you leave it on there fairly snug. Here we go. I must have triggered something there. Here's when you trigger something, it puts on the actual, here, well, let's see here. Let me see if we can get something going. Yeah, okay. When I trigger here, I triggered to take blood pressure. You get the intensive green light coming on, and then this will give you, will sense what's going on in you. So the laser goes down into your skin, it connects with your blood, and then it's pulling certain readings out, which in itself is pretty fascinating. But that technology has been around for many, many years. I mean, your regular store, when they scan a product through at your supermarket and scan the barcode, it is reading the barcode without touching it. The only thing touching it is the beam. The beam then sends the information, or that barcode information, back into the machine. Now, that's just plain data. That's not hooked up into anything bio. So this is hooked up to bios. And of course, this works not on lasers, but this works on electric sensing. So it's sensing the frequencies that are in your body and be able to take information out of there for blood pressure. And again, these vary. If they're not on correct, if they're not set up correctly in your body, I've had times where these things work very poorly as well. And to confirm readings, I usually take blood pressure readings on both arms, which is interesting because they also have different blood pressure readings per arm as well. A lot of times it's not the same reading, and that's interesting to think about as well. But it makes sense that, different parts of your body, your blood pressure is going to be different. But as I said here, let's see if we can get that triggered again. Here we go, blood pressure. We're going to turn that on, and you can see how that actual green light comes on, and now it's sensing, it's going into there and sensing or picking up, probably it's picking up electromagnetic frequencies that is going to then be transferred into digital numbers that are on the actual unit. Wear watch snug but comfortable. Okay, so you want to have it on yourself snug but comfortable. Now, it's not going to cut off circulation, but it's got to be snug so you have a good contact with your skin here. And as I said, that laser is probably picking up electromagnetic. It's probably not working as a traditional laser like a scanner, I would think, because there's not much to scan there. But it is encouraging to a certain level because we need to move away from using primitive, wasteful, and costly technologies, particularly for blood sugar analysis. This way, something like this can be punched out very inexpensively. As I said, you can get these for like $20, which means they're making these circuits probably for a few bucks. It's certainly something a world in need of great blood sugar and pressure monitoring certainly is good. Now, I'm assuming these will improve over the years as it comes out, but it certainly is nice. But this is the same technology you're going to get in Apple Watches and everything. It's all the same stuff. There's nothing new here whatsoever, or I should say different. You're not going to buy something different. Now, as I said, they have all these come-on machines that you put your hands on that tell you the kind of energies in your body, that how your liver is working. This is all bogus. It does not work that way. And what it works is very similar than you've seen here. You get ballpark figures. If you do it repetitively, the figures keep changing. So that means that you really don't have a scientific measuring instrument. So if you use a ruler and you measure something and it's a foot, and you go back and you measure it again, it's a foot. And that foot never changes. So when we get into bio situations, there are fluctuations. Now, these fluctuations are interesting, and usually it's over a period of time. So your blood pressure in the morning is going to be different than the evening. It's going to be different after you eat something. It's going to be different after you run up the stairs or do something or are stressed or have a cup of coffee. These things change. But generally, if you, let's say you have a higher blood pressure because you just had a cup of coffee, if you take your blood pressure again within 2 or 3 minutes, it should say the same results. You're not going to get that with these watches. So you're not going to, you're a ballpark again. I'm not, you have to judge for yourself how good ballpark is and how good or anything else that it goes with that kind of stuff. Is it good enough for your purposes? But remember, you're never, and if you're walking around, you're sweaty, you're having other problems, you're upset, you had to run to the bus, you're tired, you're around a whole bunch of people in a train station, in a taxi, whatever it may mean, all of this stuff is a particular problem if it works for you or not. So as a ballpark thing, and as I said, we're going to go over blood sugar in another video. We'll show you the variance there, which is quite radical. And blood sugar is something it's hard to use an actual basic ballpark with. When it comes to blood sugar, you want to be fairly accurate. But, how accurate are these strips you're getting from your machine that you put in? We're all assuming they're accurate, but I've also seen the people do blood strip tests, and one blood strip works different than the others. And many times they're off again. So we don't know how off. We don't even know. Is this off? Is your blood sugar strips off? So we're assuming those are better tests. But I'll tell you right now that all blood tests, all these type of things that you get in labs and everything else, they're all off. How much, we don't know. Is this more correct? But we have to be very careful when it comes to several of these. If you have a serious high blood pressure problem or a serious blood problem, getting ballpark results could be dangerous. So we have to be careful there. Again, it depends on your needs. So I hope you've enjoyed this. This is a good look at all this tech. And remember, all of this tech is something you have to judge for yourself. And none of it's very exact. And you can pay thousands of dollars for something. It doesn't mean you get anything better. Just remember what you're dealing with and understand that these are not fine tools that work perfectly. And if you buy anything from these people where they're telling you all the diseases you have and all the other things, that it's complete bogus garbage. There's no way to test things for people. There are many ways they do this. Stress on the heart if they put something in you. All of these using meridians, aura machines that test your auras. Well, they're all using energies that are very difficult to precisely attach and meter. And then they decide what that energy means and where it comes from. So it's a big gloopy gloppy of nonsense. And generally, when you try and test these things and find out the validity of them, in terms of, and nobody says that, they don't really check things because they really don't want to know. And then they tend to hit you with a whole bunch of data. You have 50 different things. Well, 50 things is way too much. And by giving too much data, it's just as bad as giving no data. So basically, it's a con. If people are telling you that this is a good way to monitor things, well, they're lying to you. And that's so typical of all these boxes of electronic crap you get out there. These so-called subtle energy machines and these detectors of what's wrong with you they would have to be used by a very skilled person who knows what they're doing and very carefully. And you're going to have to test it and check it all the time. And nobody does that because they're not going to invest the money in it and they're not going to invest the time of doing proper research. So like everything else, people, buyer beware. These are things that could be dangerous if you have health problems, and you're going to have to decide and check, double check, triple check, quadruple check, Google, keep going. Check it 50 times, 50 check times. So the whole idea is you're going to have to check it an awful lot to see the validity of it over a period of time to find out if this is something that's valuable to you. So if you have serious blood sugar problems and it's reading, 5, 10 points below what it should, or maybe 20 or 30, well, this could be a serious problem. And if you're getting high readings that are incorrect and you're taking more medication, whether that's blood pressure or for pills that you're taking, well, again, this could be detrimental to your health because you're using a primitive tool. But what's nice is, this is kind of exciting tech in its own way. This is why we use lasers in all of our machines to make sure that they are. It is a great help if you do all this stuff. And here's all the different things. Let's get back to something that we can press here. But as I said, you start with this, and then this bright laser light comes on. It's quite bright. You can see actually there how the laser is going. And so that's sensing what's going on in you. It's encouraging. It's interesting. As I said, hopefully in the future, there'll be some sort of blood sugar monitor that doesn't require strips, that gives you accurate readings so that you don't have to spend a lot of money. And everybody in the world then can use this and know where their blood sugar is at. So don't be fooled by the hucksters out there, people. Don't believe what people tell you. Don't believe what it says on the box. Find out how it works and how it works for you personally and how that fits into your life, because in the end, that's what counts and nothing else. And everybody's going to sell you something that they claim works when pretty much everything out there is junk and lies. Just like I still have yet to find a single person that can prove that they have any kind of personal power or can do anything of major, whether that's healing or ritual work or anything else. It's a bunch of mixture of mediocre nonsense with poor results. That's how the world is. When you get past that, you have a high level of power. And very few people have that, period. Until next time.